Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. If this is your first time checking out a video, please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. We're watching a clip of First Things First, talking about Draymond Green and how he got ejected again with, 3 minutes and 36 seconds into the first quarter, which is pretty absurd and asinine. And apparently, Nick Wright is calling him, quote, he's so garbage. I'm curious to see what they all have to say with regards to this. I know everyone wants to bury Draymond Green, and I get it, because the whole idea is like, come on, you got to do better. You got to you got to control your emotions and all of this. But the reality is that this is part of who Draymond Green is. This is what Draymond, it's that his personality is what has led him to be the player that he is. And that's part of the problem, because he's no longer that player, and yet he still has all of these issues. So the juice is no longer worth the squeeze. It's very easy just to say, well, why can't he just tone it down and yet still be that player? And that's just not the way it works. It's just not, it's just, if that was the case, then we would be able to see a lot of these athletes or any of these people that are super successful. They would all just be nice, calm, happy, positive, uplifting people. But that's not the way it works. It's like no one ever gets given everything. And some people need to rely on different sources to get them to different levels of success in life, whether it's hatred, love, rejection, fear. The motivation comes from all different sides. And so with Draymond, it is this intense level of, of emotions. And again, I don't love it. I don't want this to come off as that I'm like defending him or that I think like, hey, what he's doing is fine. I wish he would settle down, because it's like, I understand if you get technical in the beginning and you're yelling and you're upset, but then for him to keep going and going and going, you're just like, it's enough. And it is, at this point, embarrassing, but he is a massive reason why the Warriors won 4 championships, why the Warriors are who the Warriors are. He is not just some side piece. He was not just brought along for the ride. He was a crucial part of that dynasty of the Golden State Warriors. So to just say, he's trash, get rid of him, he's garbage, that I don't agree with.
Fired up, baby.
Draymond's
We're going to let you go today.
It's his 4th of the year. That's the most by any player in a single season in the last 6 years.
It's the most since Durant, his last year playing with Draymond, when Durant was like, I can't take it.
It's also the first ejection that brought Steph to the verge of, or over the line, to the fact that he was crying on the court. Warriors do fend off the Magic in a game they needed. Here's Steph postgame and Draymond today on his podcast. Take a listen.
All I say is we need him. He knows that. We all know that. So whatever it takes to keep him on the floor, him be available, that's what's got to happen, especially at this point in the year.
I said what I said. I deserved to get kicked out at that point. And what I said, if I'm all the way honest with y'all, I kind of was trying to turn my body and angle and go to the bench. And I said what I said like a little too soon before angling my body to the bench. But yeah, it just can't happen.
JJ Redick on the pod, this inverted pick and roll. I'm swearing at the referee.
You are.
I mean, what are we talking about?
Enraged.
It's just insane.
Yeah. All right, here's my reaction. I mean, look, obviously what Draymond did is terrible and selfish and indefensible.
Selfish is a great word.
It's absolutely selfish. And he may not look at it that I'm competitive. No, it's selfish. All right. But let me say this first before I get to Draymond. Steph Curry, his reaction. We all know how great Steph is. But in terms of competitiveness, you've kind of got 2 guys, maybe I'm missing somebody, but people think of Jordan and Kobe and Magic and Bird, like these guys that part of their legend is how much they wanted to win, right? Steph's never been in that grouping. Not that he's not competitive. Everybody obviously knows he's competitive, but he hasn't been in that grouping. Seeing this, it really kind of made me, a guy that's covered his whole career and been in a ton of his biggest games, go like, man, like this dude wants it. Because they're not fighting to get, it's not a finals game.
Yeah.
They're fighting to get in the play-in, all right? The 10th seed, and he wants it that badly. So, to me, I don't know if he was crying or not. I mean, I've known guys that when they get angry,
They cry. Yeah.
right? So, whatever it was.
Wild's about to cry right now. He's so mad.
I don't think he was crying. I watched that video
So,
a bunch of times.
To me, this was like,
He wasn't like crying. He was like upset, and you could already tell that he was already sweaty, and it was like in his eyes. Because even in that post-game conference, like interview, you can kind of see his eyes look like a little, I'll just say like moist. I don't know how else to put it, and he obviously wasn't crying there. I think that it was just that, like it's just anyone who's ever played sports competitively or just has sweated a lot where it just keeps coming, like it just sometimes it's just in your eyes and your face and you're just wiping it and you are angry and upset and emotional, and then it's just this combination. But I don't think it was like even that he was so angry that he then started to tear up, or that he was so sad that it started to tear up. I think it was just, we just see a video of him and he is upset, and he just kind of looks like he's teary-eyed to begin with. Again, you watch that clip right there before, and he looks like, he just got terrible news that, he lost a loved one, and yet he didn't. There's no way he was crying at that point. I just don't believe it. So I think that's a little over-exaggerated personally.
It was, it was a revelation to me.
Sure.
Like, oh, this dude is really at that highest level competitive-wise. As far as Draymond, again, there's not that much needs to be said about his foolishness, all right? He got mad that Kevin Durant and Yusuf Nurkic implied that he needed some mental help. Right? And
a while ago.
he said they questioned his character. I don't know if they were questioning his character. They were just saying he needs some help. But he took umbrage with that. And when people that need mental help can't control their emotions enough to function in normal society.
Yeah.
Right. And this is, right now, Draymond has not been able to control himself enough to function in a normal basketball game. So if he doesn't feel like he needs mental help, I'm not saying he does, but just go out there and show it, all right? But I got to say this, because Draymond obviously is most to blame. But the Warriors, and I'm not the first to say this, the Warriors have some culpability here, all right? They have enabled him for years, and maybe you've even said this, Nick, they have enabled him for years to get away with this foolishness. Most recently, I mean, obviously there was stuff this year, but when you punched out Jordan Poole, and he doesn't even get suspended.
No, and then they pay Draymond and they get rid of Draymond.
Yeah, they gave him $100 million after that. So I'm just saying the Warriors have a lot to do with this because they've enabled him year after year, time after time.
Wilds, do you want to go?
Oh. Well, here's the thing, and I've heard a lot of takes. One of the knee-jerk reaction takes is, Draymond is not worth it. When does Draymond go from helping the team to hurting the team? The answer is not anytime soon. He is awesome, and he works for the Warriors, and when he plays with the Warriors, they win games, and the stats bear it out. When he plays a full game, the Warriors are 26-17. When he gets ejected, they're 1-3, and when he doesn't play, whether suspended or for whatever reason,
yeah, that's real.
The Warriors are 11-14. So any narrative, unless you, be rude, that's your narrative, but any narrative that's like, oh man, he's not worth the hassle. He 100% is, and in this strange.
It's not so much that he's not worth the hassle, because when I said worth the squeeze. Because I agree with what Wilds is saying, and that's a perfect time to pause it. I should take a screenshot of that one. Is that they're not winning championships right now, at least within the last couple of years or so. Obviously, they won in 2022. But it's that if you're fighting to get into the play-in tournament or be like a first round or second round exit, that's what I meant by saying the juice is not worth the squeeze. It's worth it if you have a fighting chance to win a championship. Then you could say, okay. But otherwise, it's like, what are we talking about here, right? That's the way how I personally, how I look at it. And it's not to say that I would say that you get rid of Draymond. I don't know what type of conversations have been had with Draymond, but I also don't like this idea that if you need mental help, that means, you're somehow weak or bad, or it's a judge of character or this or that. And they're like, I don't know if he needs, mental health. Of course he does. We all do. Honestly. I mean, seriously. We all could benefit from having a therapist, from having a counselor, from having someone to talk to, from learning, adaptive strategies on, how to regulate our emotions, how to work through some issues that we may be facing, whatever it may be. I understand being incredibly emotional and, and bringing this intensity on the court. That was a big part of the type of player that I was, but there has to be limits to it. When you can't stop yourself, it's okay to keep riding that line, but when you literally can't stop yourself, when you're getting ejected 3 minutes into the game, that to me does scream a fundamental problem, especially because it's not even at like a big key part of the game. If it was like the fourth quarter, 4 minutes to go, you've been running up and down the court, you're exhausted, you're already emotional now from how the game has unfolded and it's a close game or whatever, then I could understand. But a few minutes into the game, man, you're just getting going. I mean, like it's not, it does raise some pretty strong red flags to me. And if I were the Warriors, I would absolutely be like, you need to see a therapist. Like, you absolutely, maybe he already does. I don't know. I know different communities and different backgrounds see therapy as like a sign of weakness, or that it's frowned upon, or this or that. I don't come from that. I used to be a therapist myself. I was a counselor, as I said before, at a men's inpatient rehab facility. And believe me, okay, I worked with literal murderers, and had them bawling out, crying, and scary murderers, people that you don't want to be alone with. And I was alone in a room, in the middle of nowhere, in a poor facility, okay, in the literal middle of nowhere. And I look back on those days and I'm like, my God, I could have gotten messed up. I was threatened once or twice, in some crazy ways. And, these same guys who are truly as bad as it gets, they are also as emotional as it gets. And they cry, they talk about their mom and their dad and their girl and their this and their that. And it's just, we all got it. We all are just this ball of, thoughts, views, and opinions and emotions and, feelings and all of this. And right now, for the last year or two or three, Draymond has been, spiraling. He really, really has. And some of the moments I understand, I really do. But some of the other ones, I'm just like, it's harder for me to make sense of.
Conflict, where it's like how inflammable and flammable mean the same thing. Mm-hmm. He is at the same time the most unselfish team guy when he's on the court.
He's talking about his style of play.
His style of play
is unselfish.
He doesn't need any glory.
Yeah.
He'll pass up open shots.
Yeah.
He'll get in the trenches. Yeah. He'll do it all that contributes to winning, except when he does the exact opposite. Yeah. But it doesn't make logical sense to me that people say,
they should let Wild share his opinions more often.
The Warriors need to move on because they need him and he's not available.
Well, so hold on. That wasn't my take, but let me explain how that could potentially make sense. Let's just again, because I'm doing this on the fly. You're Steph, you're a healthy Clay, I'm Draymond. Yes. All right? You know what I mean? This is whatever it is. I understand, but let's just go with it. Show's obviously better with all three of us. Mm-hmm. But if once every couple of weeks I showed up drunk, and midway through the show or right before the show, you guys had to be like, Nick, you can't be on the air today, and that show tanked, you couldn't then be like, well, look at how valuable Nick is. The shows are great when he's there, and they're awful when he's not there. You might say, we love good Nick, but drunk Nick has become such a problem that we need to see what it would look like if we weren't relying on you at all. If we just knew you weren't going to be here, someone else was going to be here, and the team would be different. So, in that regard.
What if the quality of the show dropped? Like, what if it was great at one point? We're winning awards. Sure, we'll put up with it. But now we're just a pretty good show.
Exactly right. Yeah,
that's what the Warriors are right now.
So
we're not even as good as a Rockets show. It's like
right. Okay. So that's in response to that. But my initial reaction to this is somebody tweeted it, and they were right, and I wish I could give them credit. They were like, the Warriors talk about Draymond the way people talk about their cousin his 7th or 8th time he's gone to jail. Like, yeah, probably deserved it. We're sad, we're rooting for him. But it's what we expect. They're not defending him. Kerr's not defending him. Steph's not defending him. They are, and I think Steph's thing was less competitive. I think Steph is super competitive, but I think it was less about, like, this is, oh, now we might lose this game, and more about, Jesus, man, this is just my basketball life now. This is just...
Really?
Yes.
I disagree with that.
This is what I am... It was me, Clay, and Draymond. Clay, through no fault of his own, is not the same guy. Draymond, with age, has gotten more erratic. And this is what the rest of my career is going to look like. It is going to be on an average, mediocre team with a guy who I cannot rely to make it to the first TV timeout. He was enraged about a foul called on a teammate that he got a technical for, totally warranted. They could have given him a second and a third, let it all go, and then Draymond wanted to get thrown out. I don't care what he says there. He didn't even react to getting thrown out. He was already walking towards the locker room.
He wasn't shocked.
He wasn't
like a lot
shocked.
of his ejections, he's like, you know,
and the reason
surprised.
selfish was such a good word is, what did we just hear from Steve Kerr the last time the Warriors lost? When they were like, hey, why didn't you play Steph more minutes? He was like, listen.
Oh, yeah.
The weight of the franchise been on Steph's back for 15 years. Draymond, you know how I know he knows Orlando's on a back-to-back and it's tough? Because he opened his podcast talking about how it's there on a back-to-back every year, all this stuff. You're on a back-to-back in a must-win game. And 4 minutes in, you're out of there, and now Steph's got to play 35 minutes and bail your ass out again.
Well, and again, listen, I understand what Nick's saying, but Nick is taking this to the next level. That's why Steph Curry's so emotional right now, and he's like, this is my basketball life. I'm just going to be on a mediocre team until the end of time. No, in that moment, he knows he needs Draymond Green. He knows how beneficial it is to have Draymond on the court because it's pure trust. Pure 100% trust that he does not have to second guess any of his decisions on the court, that he knows how important it is. And that is so important on the court, having that trust and that chemistry, and you're going, you know, in the trenches with him, and it's so important, especially when you're playing with a lot of these other younger guys. It feels so good. It's equivalent to, you haven't seen your close friends or family in a while, and you get together, and it's one of those things where you just immediately feel at home, right? Like I haven't talked to you guys in like months and months and months, and you hang out, and it's like you didn't skip a beat. That's what it's like when you're playing with a team, you know, especially in basketball for a long period of time. It's just like, I know you, you know me, you know my wife, I know yours, you know my kids, we know everything about each other. We've had the biggest highs and the lowest lows. We are truly family. And he knows how important that is. And it is. Now it's frustrating when you see that guy making your life more difficult. Because that is, you know, as much as Steph is saying, I need you and you're helping me out, when you now get thrown out of a game because of your emotions, he is looking at Draymond as, what are you doing? Like, I want to win. We want to win. You know, I only got so many years left in me. And yeah, you're making my life more difficult now, all because you can't control your emotions. Like, let's go. And for someone like Steph, who is a very calm and not emotional person in that regard, especially relative to Draymond, my experience is it's harder for someone like Steph to relate to someone like a Draymond on that emotional level, because he just can't understand why are you like this? Why can't you just not do this? I get you're upset. I get upset all the time, but yet I just go and roll my eyes and chew on my mouth guard and go, what? And make a weird face while you scream and scream and scream and scream and curse and God knows what else you say. And so there is that disconnect. Again, I was definitely more of the Draymond, especially when I was a little bit younger until I got better and better. And I had coaches that were pretty much like, no. One of the best teams I ever played for, the coach, knew that I was a really good player, but I had, behavioral issues, we'll call it. I got technicals thrown out, all that type of stuff. One time took my jersey off in the middle of a game. It was like the very end of a game. And the coach said, listen, I really want you on this team. You're great. You're one of the best. He goes, I will not put up with anything. He goes, you will not get one technical this entire season. We were walking up, and this was the first game, and he goes, you are going to walk up and you are going to talk to these refs, because a lot of times you see it's a lot of the same refs. It's not the refs every single time, but you know the refs. And he goes, you're going to talk to them, and you're going to shake their hand, and you're going to say, hi, I'm looking forward to the season. I promise you I'm going to be on good behavior, and I'm not going to act out. And I fell in line, I fell in line. He was the alpha. He was the coach. He was really knowledgeable. He was older. He was a great coach, and it was an amazing team, and I wanted to play. And he was like, and I didn't get a technical. I didn't get a signal technical the whole season. I played another year with that coach, and my final year with him, actually, we lost in the playoffs, and I did get in a fight with a player because he made some comments that he shouldn't have, and it is what it is. But and so you can fall in line, and obviously I'm not going to act like that this was in the NBA or your league even or anything like that, but it was a pretty competitive level at that time, and I just know that the real point why I was saying all of that is because I know that I was playing with other players that were at times like, can you just stop? And they know that the team is better with me on the court. They know how much value I bring onto the court, onto the team. But it was just like, can you stop? Because they wouldn't carry on. They're like, what are you doing? Just stop. Why do you complain? And, it was definitely an immaturity thing. And I sometimes cringe when I think about it. But I'm also grateful because I'm not like that anymore. And when I did continue to play, I looked at other people who were like that. And I'm like, oh my God. Or when I play pickup with whoever, either people my age or older men, and I see them carry on and on and on. I'm like, bro, what are you carrying on right now? None of this matters. This is literally just pick up ball right now. Like, get over it. Who cares? And so I've completely matured out of it. But I get to a degree why Draymond hasn't. But it is confusing because to me, it is an indicator of some issues because he should be able to control his emotions better than he does at this point. And if he can't, it's a sign of impulse control. And it is mental health, which sounds so bizarre to say. And I don't even really like to use it in that context. But, I would highly encourage him to, to do some work, really, because it is unfortunate. And, I don't think at this point you can say, well, this is what got him here. And so, you can't penalize him for that. I think that's okay in the beginning, but at this point in his career, you have to mature and evolve. People always want to say that, well, this is what got him here, and it's like, okay, just because that's what got you somewhere doesn't mean that that's what keeps you there. And there's a difference. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you think they should do with Draymond? Do you think he's worth it? Do you think he's not worth it? Do you think it's just part of basketball? Let me know in the comments below whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with the visibility and the algorithm, and I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And if you're seeing this video, that means a whole bunch of other videos were published. So definitely please check out my channel. Check out all the other videos. I post like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 videos a day. So there is plenty of content to go around. Definitely click around. I'm sure you'll find something you'll enjoy. Thank you so much, and see you next time.